After months of speculation, Donald Trump confirmed that he does plan to seek the Republican nomination for 2024. However, what are his chances, and has he rushed the announcement? To discuss, I'm now joined by Freddy Gray and Jacob Heilbrunn. So Freddy, Donald Trump is back. He is trying to make Trump 2024 happen. Are you surprised?
Not really, no. I think there was a little bit of doubt was cast about. I spoke to some people who speak to Trump, as people love to say, on a regular basis, and the last week, and I was struck that they sounded a little bit more dubious, a bit more doubtful. I think there was a little bit of disappointment, disgruntlement with the midterms, and his feeling that maybe Project Trump isn't going so well. But if you look at it, if you pan out a bit and look at it more broadly, Trump has never really stopped campaigning for the last 10 years, really. He has always done these rallies. When he was in the White House, he did the rallies. Pretty much as soon as he was out of the White House, he was still doing the rallies. The fundraising has always carried on. It's a business. The Trump campaign is a business. And the incentives for it to carry on are very strong. So I think it's no real great surprise that he announced.
Jacob, do you think that the timing of this is related to the midterms? Because lots of people were questioning Trump's electoral appeal. If you look at some of those results, some of the candidates who are so closely affiliated to Donald Trump, has it meant he's rushed forward this announcement to keep momentum going?
He has indeed. The timing was unpropitious, just as his speech fell flat at Mar-a-Lago. The difficulty he faced was he had anticipated, as many Americans had, that there would be a red wave, which turned into barely even a ripple. The idea was originally that he would emerge as the triumphant victor from the midterms, that the candidates that he had endorsed, particularly for the Senate, would win. Instead, almost all of them crashed and burned, including in Pennsylvania, where Mehmet Oz, the doctor that he endorsed, lost to John Fetterman. These defeats were ignominious for Trump and have triggered an incipient civil war in the GOP over him. He felt he had no choice but to try and position himself in front of it by declaring his candidacy now. The difficulty for him, I think, is that in declaring prematurely, the sizzle is gone. He's going to be campaigning now for 2 years. Ron DeSantis in Florida will wait and let Trump essentially burn out over the next couple months.
And how do you rate Ron DeSantis' chances, Freddie? Is he now ultimately seen as the most likely pick, or do you think that Donald Trump still has a decent shot at this?
I think the bookmakers are now making him the favourite. I think that might be a little premature. Jacob makes a very good point that Trump is now going to be campaigning for too long. And people do seem to be a bit exhausted with him. Even some of his old fans are getting tired of him. But DeSantis is not quite the perfect candidate that everybody thinks he is. Nobody is the perfect candidate. And he is very much an old establishment Republican at heart. And Trump will attack him as a rhino. That means a Republican in name only. And those attacks might be unfair, but they will certainly stick. And I think people will see that DeSantis embraced Trumpism. There's this very famous, embarrassing campaign advert he did where he sort of showed himself reading Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, to his baby. He was just sucking up to Trump in a big way. And people will see that DeSantis embraced Trumpism because it was the smart, clever thing to do. They might think he's not really a true believer. That said, DeSantis has been a very clever operator as governor, and we shouldn't underestimate him.
Jacob,
can I interject?
Yeah.
I have to correct Freddie on this
okay.
point.
Please correct Freddie.
Let's stand ready to be corrected.
To call DeSantis a rhino, I don't think is fair.
I didn't say he was. I said Trump will call him a rhino.
I think it will be very difficult for Trump to do that. There's one big reason. He is going to campaign to the right of Donald Trump on the COVID issue. He's going to say that Donald Trump was responsible for the lockdowns, that Donald Trump stood by Anthony Fauci. He will pummel him on that, and he will say that in Florida, by contrast, we did not order lockdowns, we kept the schools open, and we did not kowtow to the federal government headed by both Donald Trump and then Joe Biden. So I think DeSantis will put Trump in a difficult position. I'm not saying that he necessarily wins the nomination. He does have some weaknesses. But I think it would be very hard for Trump to tar him as some kind of a closet liberal Republican.
I take that point, and I think Trump is weak to his right on COVID stuff, notably the vaccines, vaccine mandates. Candace Owens, who was a sort of Trump sycophant for a long time, has come out recently and sort of declared that she felt he treated her unfairly because she dared question him about the vaccine mandates. And so I do think Trump is weak to his right, and there's a little bit of disenchantment on the right. However, he is the godfather. He is Trumpism. Without Trump, you don't have Trumpism. So a lot of these essays being written at the moment about the future of the right is Trumpism without Trump. That's nonsense to a certain extent because it's a non sequitur. He is the father of the movement.
Jay, what about Donald Trump's legal issues? What impact is this going to have on his campaign?
Well, his obvious attempt is to defuse the legal issues by depicting himself as a victim of a rogue Justice Department that is out to demolish the Republican front runner for the presidential nomination. I don't think that that tactic will work, and I think he is going to be facing legal liability. It will, however, intensify his bond with the Republican base. I think it will cause him more difficulties with mainstream Republicans because it's likely to be more than one indictment. But we'll see. The Justice Department has not moved ahead yet and would need to have an ironclad case on the documents that he spirited away to Mar-a-Lago. And Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, has been exceedingly cautious in making any public statements about Trump. So right now, we're in a state of suspended animation.
There is this interesting dynamic, though, isn't there, Jacob, that the Department of Justice and the Democrats behind it, they do want to persecute Trump for the reason that they want Trump to run. So it helps them if they can create this conspiracy theory, if they can make the conspiracy theory true that they are out to persecute Trump, because they think their best ticket for winning is for Trump to still be around.
Well, I personally do not think that the Justice Department is out to persecute Trump. In fact, if you listen to the Democratic base, they're howling that Merrick Garland is a sniveling coward who doesn't have the cojones to go after Trump. I think it's all overdone. Biden has kept himself out of this. If this were the Trump administration, yes, I'm sure Trump would be baying for his adversaries' heads. In fact, we know that Trump tried to sic the IRS on his opponents, according to his former chief of staff, John Kelly. So I think
you think the Mar-a-Lago raid is purely in the interest of justice and preserving presidential...
The question isn't why they went into Mar-a-Lago, but why they waited so long. They gave the guy every opportunity in the world to cough these up. The man is pathological. Whether he did it for reasons of ego or because he wanted to sell the documents, I don't know. But the whole thing is utterly bizarre and consonant with Trump's presidency, which was, let's face it, a debacle.
And just finally, when you're looking at those midterms, ultimately the Democrats had a better than expected performance. So what does that mean for Joe Biden? Are the Democrats now stuck with him when it comes to the next election?
Well, Joe Biden reportedly has a spring in his step this week and is in excellent spirits because he feels that he's been vindicated somewhat by these results. I think the Democrats should probably not be quite so dreamy about what's going to happen. It looks like America's about to enter a double-dip recession. The broader outlook for the next 2 years does not look good. And Joe Biden's performance is generally seen as bad. His job approval ratings are low. The right track, wrong track meter in America, the vast majority of Americans think their country is on the wrong track. I think they could feel some pain in 2024, particularly if they think that Project Biden is working more than it actually is.
I couldn't disagree more.
Okay, excellent. Let's go.
I know you're shocked, but I've been a Biden bullish on Biden since the beginning. I think he is not a burden on the party, but he is the only Democrat that can defeat Trump again. He will run again, and he will win in 2024.
Can he defeat DeSantis?
That would be a rougher road, but the Republican program, as the midterms show, is not that popular. So I think Biden would have a strong chance, yes.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Freddy.